Today I will show you how I remade 3 of my best designs, with some improvement in the way that I fabricate them, and add some functions that were requested by my viewers. I will only show you the part that I did differently. If you want to see everything, I have full build videos of each one of them on my channel. But stick around for now, I have a lot of cool stuff to show you, and also a special announcement. The first thing I did was make myself a better system for gluing all the stripes of walnut into boards. The jig I was using was super annoying, and only allowed me to glue one board at a time. I'm gonna have a lot of them to glue for this project, so this new setup lets me clamp 3 boards at a time, and it's much faster to use. The whole idea for this video came when I told my dad over dinner that I had received a commission to make another Wormhole coffee table, and he reminded me that I once was ranting about how it would be much easier and save me a lot of time to build 2 at the same time. I had completely forgot, but I quickly remember why I was saying this. It has all to do with how I made the half cylinder section. I turned a full drum, but only half the width of the table, then cut it in half and stacked them together. But I had some alignment issues that required a lot of sanding to fix, and I hate sanding. So this time, I made the drum the full width of the table, and instead of throwing away half of it, I followed my own advice and made an extra Wormhole coffee table to have in stock for the next potential customer. But that meant I had to rethink how I was going to turn this thing, because the setup I used was already barely rigid enough, which gave me a lot of vibration and a poor surface finish, which meant I had a lot of sanding to do, and I hate sanding. Here I'm just removing most of the material by hand before switching to my new setup. Luckily since then, I have this heavy-duty cross-slide table, which came from a late 1800s lathe I restored in a previous video. I'm gonna use this in combination with a much bigger boring bar to try to cut a perfect cylinder and improve my surface finish. This was a super satisfying process, and it reminded me a lot of how a metalworking lathe operates. And I've always wanted to get into machining anyways. The travel on the slide was not enough, so I had to reposition the cutter to finish the other half. A quick check with some comically large homemade calipers, and I'm pretty much bang on as far as the outside diameter goes. I made sure to set the slide correctly so that it would cut the inside parallel to the outside. I started boring with some very light passes, but I quickly ran into some vibrations. You actually can hear it in this next shot. This was causing a terrible finish. I switched to a different cutter and it made a huge improvement. But I still had to go fairly slowly. I extended my boring bar to reach the bottom, and my tool just barely fitted through the end. After a quick sanding while it's still on the lathe, it's time to cut the cylinder in half. Last time I used the bandsaw to do so, but this one being twice as tall, it wouldn't fit, hence why I made this little setup to do it with the track saw. Also, I was hoping this method will ensure the two cuts end up perfectly on the same plane, and avoid having to do this again. And it worked! What I'm noticing here is that the deeper I went with the boring bar, the better the cut quality got, which tells me that the vibration I was getting wasn't coming from my boring setup, which is plenty rigid, but from the wood itself. What I think is happening here is on this side, where the cylinder was closed, it's pretty rigid and it can resist the tool pressure. But on this side, even though I had the steady rest for support, it still can deflect and wobble under the tool pressure. So what I think I will do if I ever have to make some of these again, is I will glue a larger disc here, and this should prevent the cylinder from deflecting. Checking the thickness on both ends, I found a less than a millimeter error across 40 centimeters, which, considering my setup, I was pretty happy with. All that happiness immediately went away when I still had to do this for a couple of hours. Twice! Man, I hate sand. Okay, here they are. 2 perfect wormholes. But it's not really a coffee table yet. There, now it is. It is hard to film this, but here's a quick look at the inside, where I fitted an infinity mirror with some LEDs, so you can never see the bottom. If you want to see how I got to this, I have put the link of my original video in the description below. Now moving on to my other design, the gravity well. I actually made this because everybody, including me, wanted to see some marble roll down the wormhole. But still, people weren't happy, and more importantly, I wasn't satisfied as well. The problem in my original design is that you had to lift the whole table to retrieve the marbles. A lot of viewers pointed out I should include some kind of mechanism to catch the marbles and redirect them on the outside of the base. At the time, I actually wanted to make this, but I wasn't sure how to implement it in my design. My idea was to have a hole on each side and have the marbles come down out of the wormhole and then roll down on the outside. But I was worried that with the speed they would just come out and shoot out. And I also didn't like the idea of having holes in the middle of the table. So I decided it was a problem for later. But now it's later. After hours of thinking, this is what I came up with. I'm going to make the base thicker so I can cut a gutter around it, put some holes here and here so it's balanced when I turn it, and then later add some little ramps in here so the ball will come down, hit the bottom and lose some speed, and then on the ramp go down and into the gutter. I'm not sure it's gonna work, so let's try to make it. So I made a stack of segmented rings, turned the groove to fit the body, drilled 2 exiting holes, glue it on the body with some love, and then turn it like the first one I did, right up until this point. For the little connecting ramp, I used the cutoff from a body, cut the gutter on the router table, I cut it in half, and glued them together with some mounting blocks. Finally, it's time for the most satisfying part, applying the finish. I had some leftover boards, so I used them to remake 2 of these bending spacetime which actually was the first designs I made of those space-time series. The only thing I did differently on this one is I glued a mirror down in the bottom, so you can stare at your evil self in another dimension. If you've been following my channel for a bit, you might have noticed there is no sponsor or ad reads in my videos, and I'd like to keep it like this for as long as possible. Which leads me to my announcement. I now have my own website to sell my work, where you can find all of the pieces that were made in this video. I know this level of work isn't affordable for everybody, so I also have a variety of wooden pens and some smaller vases available for those with a tighter budget. You can also find some of my sold out designs that I offer to make on commission. And last but not least, I still have this amazing beautiful walnut table available I made in a previous video, as well as some other unique pieces that weren't for sale earlier. Anyways, if you like my videos and want to support my work, this is the best way to do it. And I'd really appreciate it if you at least go check it out. The link is in the video description. Now I need some supports that will go on top of the table and hold the glass disc like this above the table so you can fit some marbles in between and have some fun. This is the first prototype I made, but it's not a piece that you can make out of wood because it would just break easily. And if you remember, last time they were made of aluminium. A very good friend kindly made them for me. But when I asked him to make 8 more of these for me, his response was, "Putain, tu fais chier," which in English means, "I love you, buddy, and if you need it, I'll make them. But I really don't want to do it." So, because I'm a good guy, and I don't want my friends to hate me, I'm gonna try to make them myself. Okay, I'm kidding. This machine was designed to turn wood. And if you've been paying attention, this is not wood. If only there was a machine that works like a wooden lathe, but for metal. I have a slot here where the glass will go that I need to cut in these parts. So far the lathe makes the workpiece spin and the cutter is stationary. But to cut this slot using an end mill like this, I need the opposite. I need the cutter to be spinning and the workpiece to be stationary. If only I had a machine that can do that. It's a bit hard to see, but right here I'm gluing some transparent rubber, so the glass isn't directly sitting on the aluminum. And they're done! All that is left to do is to drill 4 holes on the table, mount the garter connector, and install the glass top with 4 screws. And finally, we're ready to try to see if it works. It works pretty good with the small marbles, but the big ones sometimes just bounce back in, and you have to feed another marble to make it pop out. I thought about adding a little piece of wood here at an angle, but I want the marbles to be able to do full revolutions, and having a piece there would prevent that, and it wouldn't look right. So I'm going to leave it as it is for now, and I think for the next one I'm going to drill those holes at an angle so the marbles automatically go and spin a little bit around the track. But still much better than before, when you had to lift the table to retrieve the marbles. On the second one, I didn't fit the glass top just yet. Some customers prefer without, because you can more easily play with marbles and put some spin on them, which creates this amazing elliptical orbit. I also tried other types of ball just for fun. Okay, maybe this one is too big. I have to say, this thing is so much fun. You can easily play for hours and not even realize it. So if you've been wondering where I've been for the past 6 months, sure, I was making all of this, but honestly, many hours were spent playing around with my balls. No, wait, that's not what I meant. Thank you so much for watching. If you want any of these, please visit my website, oliviergomis.com. Hey, Vsauce, Michael here. Is this ball too big, or is this table too small?